Thank you for joining for another of our noon devotions, even though you may be watching at a different time than noon. But I'm glad you're watching because I want to talk to you today about some Bible verses that have helped me for a long time. Now, maybe the place to begin to help you see why I'm excited about what I'm going to talk about today. When I was 7 years of age, my pastor challenged me to learn some Bible verses and said, if I would, he would give me a little New Testament. And that had me so excited to think that my pastor was going to give me a New Testament. And I still remember the day he wrote on a piece of paper what my verses were. I thought, oh my gracious, I'll never be able to learn that many verses. But what he wrote was Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5, 6, and 7. And I still remember that day I went home from church and told my mother, I said, the pastor gave me the verses I'm to memorize. And I said to her, and I remember I was 7 years of age, I said, Mom, he wants me to memorize the entire Old Testament. My mother knew that was not right, and she said, let me see the piece of paper. And I showed it to her. She said, this is not the entire Old Testament. This is 3 verses, and you can do it. And you know, I did do it. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5, 6, and 7. I memorized those verses when I was 7 years of age. Now, I must confess, my motive was not good. I memorized the verses so I would get the little New Testament my pastor was going to give me when I would say the verses to him. So I must say my motive was not good, but it worked out great because those 3 verses have helped me through so many things all these years. Now remember, I learned them when I was 7 years of age, a little boy. Now, today, of course, I'm no longer 7 years of age. I am 79 years of age and thankful to God that I'm still serving the Lord and so blessed by him. But the point is, I've known those verses like 72 years. And in these 72 years, I can't tell you how many times as I've gone through things, those verses have come to my mind. You may know the verses. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord, and depart from evil. Those verses, I encourage you, first of all, whatever your age, memorize those 3 verses. But that's the easy part. That's the easy part. The hard part is living those verses. Trust in the Lord. I do good on that. With all thine heart. Ooh, that's the hard part. Because sometimes in these 72 years that I've known those verses, having learned them when I was 7, man, I trust in the Lord for some things, but then other things, man, I begin to trust myself or trust someone else or whatever. But then the next part of that, trust the Lord with all thine heart. That is really the hard part. That is really the hard part. Because sometimes I don't find myself trusting the Lord in all things. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. And then here comes a really hard part. Lean not to your own understanding. Now that is the kicker. Because I do pretty good trusting God if I can understand something. But in life, there are just things we do not understand. We go through things we don't understand. But then I remember that verse, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thy own understanding. And then in all thy ways acknowledge him and he shall direct thy path. So I want to encourage you today, seriously, memorize Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5, 6, and 7. And then look at that little portion of Scripture and say, what do I need to work on here? Do I need to quit trying to always understand everything and just trust in the Lord with all my heart? And then ask God to help you do that. And whatever you go through, I'm telling you, those verses will bless you over and over and over again. So, maybe I did memorize the verses with the wrong motive, but they've sure blessed me. And over these many years, I've encouraged so many others, even especially the first graders, the 7-year-olds. I've said, boys and girls, learn these verses, and one day you'll be so glad you did. I hope you'll join with me in that. Look, have a great rest of this day. Have a great coming up soon weekend, and stay well, and I look forward to being with you next time.